Coming to you live from the Business RadioX studio, it's Franchise Marketing Radio. Elevate your franchise with Franchise Now. We tell your brand story on our radio podcast and boost it with powerful content marketing strategies. From blogs and videos to infographics and more, we enhance your brand's SEO and online visibility. Let Franchise Now help your franchise stand out in a crowded market. Visit us today and learn more to start your journey for greater visibility and success. And now, here's your host.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Franchise Marketing Radio. I'm your host, Rob Ganley, and we're the podcast where we spotlight leaders and innovators in the world of franchising. And today is no different. Joining me today, I have Namrata Yocom Jan. She's the president of Seniors Helping Seniors. And of course, alongside her, looking at both of them, I like doing podcasts where we can see each other. I have Daniel Jan, the chief operating officer of the brand. And they just surpassed 300, I'm going to say 350, even though they just barely sneaked past that mark, but 350 territories. I'm sorry, but I do a lot of work in franchising, and once you get to past 100, it's already another place. So congrats. And I know we've talked before, but the train is rolling. So maybe we could start with just tell us how this all came to be. I know you have a really cool vision and a big time why, but tell us a little bit about how this came to be.
Well, Rob, first of all, I want to thank you for having us on your podcast. We are so excited to be here and share our story with you and to share a little bit with the audience as well as yourself as to how we came about. My mother actually started the company way back in 1995. She's Indian. She comes from India. Coming from India, she came in and she saw people just sending their elderly into nursing homes, and she was just surprised by that and shocked by it because these seniors were in completely good condition and didn't necessarily need to be in a home. So she decided to take it upon herself to do something about it. Prior to coming to the US, she had actually worked with Mother Teresa for 14 years. So she had that humanitarian spirit, if you will, and wanted to take charge and solve an issue that was going to become a social issue for everybody. So that's exactly what she did. She wanted to help seniors live independently in their own homes and while maintaining their dignity. So way back when, she came up with the idea and approached this retired military nurse to come and join her vision and become one of the caregivers, if you will. And I still remember my mother sharing the story with me. The lady just sat there and laughed. She was like, this was a crazy idea. It was, nobody would have thought of that, and it just was crazy. So she said she'd give it a go anyway. So she gave it a try, and with that one person became the first caregiver. There were many more caregivers, many more Jeanette Reavers. Her name was Jeanette Reaver. Many more Jeanette Reavers joined the mission and the vision that my mother had. And many clients, seniors, got help through these caregivers and were able to live independently in their own homes versus having to go to a nursing home. And something that you may or may not know is that my father actually comes from a franchising background. Today, he's been in the world of franchising over 50 years. And he also went to divinity school. So naturally, my mother tried to recruit him and obviously got success at it. And the two of them together recruited us, Dan and I. We actually joined the company in 2007, and I tell you, this has been one of the best decisions of my life for me personally, other than marrying my husband and having a child. But I feel like we are making a difference every day in somebody's life or the other. We're touching the seniors, helping them live independently in their own homes. We are giving seniors the jobs to be able to supplement their Social Security income. We are able to give families peace of mind so they know that their family members are well taken care of. And more importantly, also helping our franchise owners. We are giving them the ability to have the autonomy and the financial freedom while also doing something fulfilling, making money and doing good at the same time.
It's kind of funny listening to that. That was just a beautiful, I can't think of how many things that are positive about what you just said. I just love it. I love the impact of franchising. Then you get into, well, what are you doing with franchising? Then you get into the impact of in your world, families, but there's so many tiers of impact, right? And anyway, we're going to get into all that here as we talk through the different angles of business ownership. But okay, you've had a tremendous amount of success. I think it came from a heartfelt place, which for me personally, I think service in life is really why we're here. And it's funny how that works, where if you put that first, somehow the business worked itself out.
Absolutely.
Now you have this
Absolutely.
super like button down business model that's super efficient and you got all the boxes checked, but it really came from this idea of I want to help and just gotta and just the I've told you I do more in the senior care space probably than other areas of franchising. And to me, it is a nonstop mind-blowing thing of how you impact families. Because for me personally, the peace of mind phrase, like we talk about that a lot. I know for me, like I spoke to a senior care advisor maybe 7, 8 years ago, and it was like a 15-minute conversation. And it was a client because I was in this industry. And I remember this feeling of peace of mind coming over me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I'm just saying, look, for me, it was like nice to just, I don't know what it was. It was like, yeah, I should have been asking these questions before about my dad. I wasn't doing it because, and this is what people are doing. They're holding that in their heart, right? And wondering, what do I do? When do I do it? What's enough? What's not enough? And every culture is a little different on how they look at that, right? So we
Mm-hmm.
know like some are like, we're never putting mom in assisted living, but sometimes you don't have a choice. It's like a medical
Right.
or it's an emergency kind of scenario. So it's a lot to consider for families and a lot to consider for individuals. And so I experienced that as a person, not thinking about business or any of that. And it was a feeling like, okay, this person really understands. They get it.
Yeah.
I know what to do now. Now I have some next steps in my head. And I just remember feeling like that was important. Like, what am
Mm-hmm.
I waiting for? Like my parents
Exactly.
next to my kids, I guess it's the other side. Like it's almost so, yeah, we're going to talk about awareness. We're going to talk about a little bit about how that affects the business model. But truly, as a business, it is one of those businesses that is truly transformational in terms of what you're doing with people. And it happens at the heart level. That's been my experience with it. And so everything else is fun to talk about. We're going to talk about that now, about all the ways that we make businesses efficient and profitable. But again, it's the why we're doing it. And for you guys, it's about helping families, serving families and everybody around them, and serving the business folks involved, right? The franchisees that you're providing this opportunity to. So it's yeah, it's a win-win-win, maybe another win in there for everybody. So let's keep
Exactly.
going. Let's dive deeper. Let's figure out, well, so let me just ask you this. Like you've gotten to 350 locations or owners or whatever that looks like.
Mhm.
You've learned a lot along the way. We started with a heartfelt, we're going to serve and figure it out as we go. Now you've been on this, what, 20 years? Almost 20 years, not quite, but almost. And so tell me some lessons learned to get you to challenges that you've overcome. What is there any nuggets that you would say, yeah, this is one we wish we knew ahead of time, or anything you can share that you've kind of learned along this journey of getting to 350 plus franchisees?
Yeah, that's a great question. And thanks, Rob, for having us. I think first and foremost, it's to find franchise owners that are really passionate about doing this work. And, we've done an amazing job working with Brand One to find these franchise owners that, want to do good in the community, want to help seniors, and want to do well for themselves. And I think if you start with that premise, everything else is easy. You can teach somebody how to use a CRM system or scheduling system. But at the core of what we do is finding amazing franchise owners who then in turn hire amazing caregivers. And that's what we're all about, is finding these amazing franchise owners who, provide this care. And we have to train them. We have to train them to run a successful business. And so we spend a lot of our time focusing on the training of our franchise owners. And then once they're trained, is how do we support them over the life of their business? And there are different stages, right? The first year and a half, everything is going to be new. Everything may be a little challenge here and a little challenge there. And then after a year and a half, it's all about, something that they've already experienced, but making more efficient. And, how do we overcome that plateau? And so those are the things that we see with our franchise owners, but it starts with finding the right franchise owners.
I was good. Yeah, I was gonna kind of key in on that anyway. So I know that that is a thing. So on one hand, you need a business person of some
Mhm.
sort. You need a professional. I know from some of the brands I've worked with in our industry, it's definitely you're looking for that thing in the heart, though, right? Like I
Yeah.
think you are. I think that that's you kind of need that. We need that shark. It's a nice shark.
Yes.
Exactly.
So,
Yes.
Exactly.
but tell me, like, how does that affect the recruiting process for this kind of a role?
I always tell franchise partners during discovery days, you got to look for four things. The first one being you have the passion. I mean, this is the type of industry and work. If you don't have the passion, you're going to be absolutely miserable because this is the type of work. It takes a very special person to be able to do that. And if you feel passionately about it, the word is going to fly, the people are going to follow, and the money is going to follow, right? It's just you do good and people spread that word. And secondly, I mean, you got to find the right brand. Do you feel good about a brand? Because different brands are better for different people, and different people are also better for different brands as well. You got to find your the right brand to be representing your values or whatever you believe in or whatever industry you want to get into. And for us, that is extremely important. And three, talk about the community. By the time they get to Discovery Day, you get a feel for what type of community we have, the type of people we are, who we are. I mean, we joke around, we have a good time. So they get a feel for the community as well. And you've got to feel like you belong. Because if you don't feel like you belong, you're going to be an outsider always. And lastly, I mean, franchising is about relationships at the end of the day. Nothing else matters except for the relationship. And they have to decide and feel good about working with us as human beings. For us, that relationship is extremely important, Rob. In fact, so much so that we've not actually had a convention in a few years. So last year, we decided, since our franchise partners really did not want to have a convention and we hadn't seen them in a while, the two of us, our dog and our son, we got in a Sprinter van and went on a cross-country trip, visiting our franchise partners across the country. And we got to 90%, which is a pretty good number, I would say, for 2.5 months with all of us in a Sprinter van traveling from location to location. But that's who we are. You got to feel like, we are the right people to connect with. Because once we open our arms and welcome you into our franchise organization, we're welcoming you into our family. And hopefully they will welcome us into theirs.
Yeah, well, it is all about relationships, right? And I love the simplicity. We're going to get into a little bit of the nuance of the model itself, but you said something earlier that people probably didn't pick up on, and that is when you're hiring. So when the franchisee's hiring caregivers, they're senior peer to peer, at least some of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're
Yes.
hiring other seniors to help seniors, and I think that is an amazing, amazing innovation in and of itself. Before we talk about that, though, I did want to get back to you, Daniel. I know you're the COO, right?
Yeah.
So I love that. You're not me. I'm the guy that you have to wrangle in and talk to. And Rob, we know you're passionate and you're the sales and marketing guy. You want, yeah, but you got to stay within these boundaries. Anyway, it's great having guys like you that are typically analytical and structured and organized. You might have a lot of skills. I'm sure you have to wear a lot of hats. But tell me though, in the world that we're in, with this rapidly advancing technology happening. And I know we just talked a lot about the heart, a lot about relationships, and that doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts just in terms of the future? How do you think about as the COO? Are you looking at like technologies or partnerships or different ways that you can, I guess, raise the experience, right, of the person you're providing care to, raise the experience for the franchisee? How do you look at that as COO, and how do you deal with this world of AI and technology and sort of balance all that out?
That's a great question. And I will say that when Namrata's mom started this business 25 years ago, she was doing her scheduling on a whiteboard.
There's still people that probably do that, but
Yeah. And she was using pagers. And so, flash forward 25 plus years, it's completely changed. And I think that's the nature of business in general. is that everything continues to move forward. And so we have to be open to the fact that change is going to happen and we have to make responsible change. I don't think for us, we need to be on the bleeding edge on the nice edge of technology. I think we need to be mindful of it because it makes our lives easier and it makes us more efficient. And, we used to have a rule of thumb prior to having the scheduling CRM system that we have now, one full-time scheduler for 40 clients. It's probably closer to one full-time scheduler, 60 or 70 clients, just because our technology makes it easier and more efficient to run this business. We used to spend a lot of time on scheduling, and scheduling still takes time, but we have tools that will match a client with a caregiver based on their personalities, interests, hobbies, needs, wants. And we don't need, somebody to file through a Rolodex trying to figure that out. Technology does that for us now. In terms of moving forward, I think AI is going to have an important, part of home care. We are considering working with a company currently, and they have a fancy listening device that sits in a senior's home and it listens to what's going on in the home. And so if they're shouting because there's aggression due to dementia, or if somebody opens the door in the middle of the night and is prone to wandering, it will notify the agency. And so it will keep our senior clients safe. It will keep our caregivers safe. And we have more information to be able to better care for those clients and also our caregivers as well, because we're helping both sides of the equation. So, technology is important, but it's not at the core of what we do. And I think you mentioned that earlier. The core of what we do is finding amazing franchise owners who find amazing caregivers, and then we match those caregivers with the seniors that need care. Our goal really is to create friendships. And so we try to match one caregiver with our client. And, the biggest compliment that we get is we're in a lot of obituaries because we make such a big difference with the seniors in their lives, sometimes their last days of their lives, and families, thank us all the time. And I think that's the biggest compliment that you can get as a home care agency.
Yeah. Well, I've never heard that's impressive. Like I was telling you, like a lot of times you get the reviews, obviously 5-star reviews or what have you from Google, or people often use that. But the obituary, I haven't heard that's impactful. Well, that just shows where the heart is at that moment, right?
Yeah.
Like wow, that's pretty amazing. Well, so okay. Yeah, I got what you said about tech, and I'm thinking the same way. Like when I think about how do we use it in certain scenarios, it's obvious that it's coming, whether like we're ready to embrace it or whether it's given to us all of a sudden.
Yes.
So but I think for us it's about saying that doesn't change. Like the obituary, like if anything, we just want more of that. Like, well, more of people feeling that connection. And so that's what can technology help us with that? Can we increase connections and relationships? And I think you can. So you were saying that the schedule, I'm just curious, like that's a huge like operational part of the business. I can imagine that was like one of the first things that's bottleneck, right? Like, okay. Yeah. So but that's like, are you doing this with people and technology, or is it a combination?
Yeah, okay. So we have profiles for our clients and our families and what their needs are. We do a detailed care plan. We put that care plan into our system. Then we set certain parameters on how we want to match that client with caregivers. And we do the same thing on the caregiver side. And then our Care Finder feature matches our clients with our caregivers. Obviously, we have a human looking at all these things, but it takes a look at, who will not go into overtime? How far is this caregiver away from this client? Are they okay with dogs? Do they like the Eagles, right? So it really can match people in very detailed ways. And so it reduces the amount of time that the human has to spend, a schedule has to spend on trying to find the perfect match. And so, please go ahead.
Well, I was just going to inject real quick. The caregivers that your franchisees recruit and partner with, are they always seniors? Is that the core? I mean, I know that your name is that, and it's sort of, but is that 100%, or is there ever a deviation from that, or is it always a peer?
So I would say 80% of our caregivers are 50 plus.
Okay.
And that's really important for us because I think, somebody that's a senior who's providing care to another senior, they have life experience. They understand how important these services are to that person because they've probably gone through it with their own family members. That said, we also have mature, younger folks that maybe in their 30s and 40s that are providing the heavy duty personal care, which is sometimes also necessary to keep people at home. And so we match people also based on what a caregiver is able to provide and what a senior needs. So, a lot of home care agencies tend to hire 20 or 30 somethings, and that's probably 80% of their workforce. And, they may hire 20% of the workforce that are a little bit older. For us, it's just flip flop. 80% of our workers are 50 plus, and then 20% are a little bit younger.
And that
I
also
love
helps
that.
us, that also helps us protect the well-being of our senior caregivers so they don't have to, it doesn't put them at risk to do a heavy lifting or anything like that. That's important.
Yeah, totally. But it's about what you said earlier, connection, relationship, right? How do we elevate all this? How do we make it more than just a sterile sort of get that done for me kind of thing? My mom went through a surgery. She's in her 80s. She went through a surgery recently. Well, not that recent, a couple of years, but it was fine. It wasn't, she just had to do physical therapy. But I feel like it was very sterile. It was just like they come in, they
Yeah.
come out. I'm not saying they weren't nice, I'm sure, but I didn't sense that my mom felt there was a real connection or
Yeah.
experience there. And I think that's important. Like I just do, especially if it's going to be long term type of work that you're doing for someone. But anyway,
I I
no,
think it's easy to provide logistical care, right? It's easy for somebody to come in and, cook a meal or straighten up the house. Where we really focus our energies and making sure that our caregivers are having nice conversations with the seniors while they're doing that. And then sometimes engaging them in the activity. So they feel like they're being active. And so that's really our focus when we try to match caregivers with clients.
yeah, well, and that's that the fact that you have a process and you're thinking through it is the key point to be made here. And it all flows back to what is our objective. And it's about elevating those relationships. So, and you got to think through all those details, right? There's little things. But that's really
Sure.
cool. I appreciate that. And that is very unique to your brand. Is there anyone else that has kind of watched what you've done, or is that maintained sort of being your approach? I'm sure others are wondering, how do they do kind of like Chick-fil-A being closed
I
on Sunday? Like, how do
I
they do
think
that? Yeah.
I think we're squatting on the name seniors helping seniors. What do you call yourself, right?
Yeah, I
Elderly
think you're
folks
pretty much
helping
locked
elderly
in.
folks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But anyway, I just think it's brilliant, and it makes total sense of why people would get a much better experience from it and build relationships. So, all right, I'm going to ask a question that I think you had it ahead of time. So you had it's an interesting one, but it's for you, Namrata. It's just I wanted to ask: is there anything that people challenge you on or disagree with? And maybe both of you, like with this vision, but that they challenge you on that you find you have to defend and then educate, and then they're like, oh, maybe I see it now. But is there something in your world like that?
I can't say that people challenge us on some philosophy. We as a community and as a franchisor, take a very collaborative approach. Every decision we've made throughout the last 18 years that we've been part of the company, and even prior, we've always had councils to make decisions on everything. Whether we're going to have a convention, where are we going to have a convention, what type of website, what type of CRM, et cetera, et cetera. So I wouldn't say challenge. However, I will say when we first got started, we are based on the premise of the philosophy of doing good and making money. I mean, that's what this whole Seniors Helping Seniors is based on since the moment that was put together. And I will say, initially, people thought this was crazy idea. How can you do good and make money? It's impossible to do good and have a decent living. So we were so focused early on in finding the do-gooders and who were just happy, just they had a heart for volunteer and just happy making a small business, but they were not really driven to see the potential of the territories that they were granted. Over the years, we've switched our strategies in finding people who really want to do good and make money and are driven to build the business. They're business people who have the acumen and are really driven to build and monopolize on the franchise territories that they're being granted. And I will tell you, franchise owners have proved us wrong. I mean, proved the people wrong. Not us, I shouldn't say us. They proved the people who were skeptical wrong by all the work that they're doing. I mean, they're proving that if you put in the sweat equity, put in the hard work, follow the process, and then try to reinvent the wheel, and spend adequate amount of marketing dollars while following and learning from your coach for day-to-day decisions or whatever they need help and support with, there is no way you can have the decent living that you may hope for. Everybody's definition of decent living is different. And that's perfectly okay, because there's nothing wrong with, having a certain type of a lifestyle as long as you're doing good and making money. And I think they have proved to the world that they are able to do good and make money and have a decent, loving lifestyle of what makes them and their family comfortable and happy.
Yeah, and like I said, it does seem fun. I'm sorry to have laughed a little when you were saying, there's actually a business that you can make money and do good.
Yeah.
In a way, it's like, as you get older, you realize that is more true in many scenarios. You have to truly do the right thing, I think. But no, there are some that are just obviously doing good work, and so let's talk about the money making part, because I think they're okay. So we've got a good heart. We care about our community. We want to help. We know this. We maybe have a business background of some sort, corporate background, leadership background. Okay, so the business model, let's get into that juicy part. So to me, it seems like we had talked about scheduling caregivers with just operationally, where the system could probably take 60, 70 active clients. Talk to me about this idea of getting started, right? So there's that first part where you learn, but then you start to build, right? Once you feel like they're certified, ready to go, they start to build. How does that look? Like, if I think, okay, year one, quarter one, I want to get 5 new clients. Quarter two, do I have like 20 clients? Like, do you help them put that forecast together, figuring out what is on their heart, and tell me a little bit about the model, Daniel. Like, how do you build that for them and help them figure that out?
Yeah, that's great. And, my background is in corporate finance and metrics and numbers. And so when we built our pro forma budgeting tool, it included a lot of the key metrics that we have in our business. How many leads are you going to get? How many of those leads are going to turn into a phone call? How many of those phone calls are going to turn into a in-home visit? And how many in-home visits are going to turn into a new client that we're servicing? All of that is in our pro forma. And the real driver for that is the number of leads that you're getting. And there are 2 main ways of getting that. One is spending your advertising and marketing money to get in front of people. And for the first 6 months, that's extremely important because nobody knows you from anybody else. And so you got to spend the money to make money, right? And then I would say 6 to 9 months is when you start to get payoff from all the business development that you've done in the community, networking with discharge planners or aging life care managers or elder care attorneys who work with those seniors who then, refer them to you. But it really starts with, just getting leads to come in. We know what the averages are going to be. And, if we see somebody's numbers from call to home visit are lower, then we work with that particular partner to, get them better on the phone. If we find somebody gets a lot of in-home visits but is not closing once they're with the senior, we work with them to make sure that, they have everything that they need to be able to grant somebody And so all of our coaches help our franchise owners to do that. And they have weekly coaching calls. They review metrics that are captured by our CRM and scheduling software. And we review those with our franchise owners.
And in addition to that, if I may add, we do semi-annual reviews with our franchise owners. This is in addition to our coaches spending time with them day in and day out, where in fact, we have our review starting October 1st. And for the whole month and a half, maybe, perhaps, we are going to be meeting with franchise owners, looking at the business, where they have been, where they want to go, and if they're having any challenges, how we can help them. Because when we do these reviews, we also see the trends of what's working well and what could be, what if there's a trend of challenges, and we try to help them overcome them. And that has really helped the franchise partners as well succeed and get to where they are today.
And what Namrata says, it's Namrata and I and the coach and the franchise owner get on a Zoom call together and we review their numbers together. And that's really important because we know what's going on in our franchise owners' lives. We get updates from our coaches every week, but then every 6 months we get together and we just review their plans and see where they are, where they need help. And our goal is to help our franchise owners be successful. And we're very informal people. We talk to our franchise owners all the time. They call us all the time, and we like it that way.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, our success is their success and their success is also our success. So we really truly look at it as a partnership where that's why we do these reviews.
Yeah, but I love what you're saying. I'm listening very with a critical ear, not critical to criticize, but critical and understanding, right?
Right.
And I feel like, when I hear someone say, we measure the metrics, right? We have, and you're like being gentle about it, but it's like black and white. I tell my kids all the time, like, if you want to learn basic math, it'll give you truth a lot of the time. You just need to have the numbers and understand what they are telling you, and then be honest about it, right? And I think the clarity of that is that there's really no way to fail. The failure comes in the hard part, in my mind, right? Like it's just if you look at those metrics and you know what you need to do. And I think again, what moves the needle there is those coaches, right? Like that to me is brilliant that you have that, because if you didn't have that, then no one is reinforcing those metrics with the relationship. You have a real relationship. You understand the context, but you can't get away from the black and white of some of those numbers. Like if you're not doing any actions, you're not going to get a result, right?
Absolutely.
So you're able to have those sort of honest conversations, I think. And I think that's a tremendous way to run a business where it's just, hey, we're in it together, but these are the numbers we all have to look at. And oh, by the way, it's so we can help more families, right? Impact more lives.
Right.
And these semi-annual reviews, Rob, it's also good for us because one of the questions that we always ask is, what are your achievements and what are your challenges? And sometimes the challenges is they needed something from us and they didn't get it. And so, we have that 360-degree review where we find out what we need to work on to better help our franchise owners. It really goes both ways.
Yeah, no doubt it does, right? It's one of the things that makes franchising such a cool thing. Like it's the two-way feedback loops. And that's what makes you get better and better as time goes on. So you have 350 tremendous people to input, right? I talked to another franchisor once and he made a comment and it kind of landed on me a little bit. And I think you guys will relate. Like the people you get to bring into your franchise, these are some sharp people, right? Like it would be hard to hire them. Like just hiring people of that caliber, it's like I don't have the budget. Like, it would never happen.
That's exactly why I love the idea of the councils, because you have all of these very smart people sitting on these councils making a decision for the whole community. It's way better than just us sitting in a boardroom with our team and making decisions. I would rather have franchise owners be involved in the critical decision-making process.
Totally. It's the entrepreneur side of, we should be rebels a little bit here.
Yeah.
That's what we're about. Anyway, we're going to make change in the world. But technology-wise, I wanted to ask you, Daniel, I know that the way you were talking about the AI, I thought that was extremely brilliant what that company's doing. that you're looking at. Is there any other stuff you guys have done in the past just related to technology partners or things you put into place that you think are interesting, just that you think is important to mention or, might be interesting to talk about?
The whole goal for our technology is we want to make it easy on franchise owners. We don't want them to have to be able to source these things themselves and try to figure them out. And so we do a lot of work to make sure that we have these technologies available to our franchise owners, and they're relatively easy to use, right? If they're difficult to use, nobody's going to use them. And so whether it's our CRM and scheduling software or our social media platform or our document library, we want it to be easy for people to use. And like I said, it doesn't have to be the latest cutting edge that just came out a month ago. Sometimes wait and see is a good thing. You see whether it works or not, and then, if it works, you test it out and then you implement it yourself. And so that's the direction that we've taken it. But our technology should make our seniors helping seniors franchise owners' lives easy.
Yeah, you know what, Jeff? I say this almost all the time. I just always have a reason to say it. But Jeff Bezos, he was asked one time, he's this guru technological guy, right? Like where do you see the technology going? And he's like, well, I'm not really sure about the technology, but I do know people want their packages fast, right? That will not change.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Right.
So like everything he does is try to get the packages to us faster, which I think he's been doing pretty good. Well, whatever, whoever's running the show these days.
Yeah, exactly.
But so yeah, that's really cool. So I just wanted to let you open up on that a little bit, but I just wanted to kind of ask you both, and both of you could take this question, just where you're at now. You've made this impact. It's just a beautiful business, a beautiful brand. What's your goal? Like 350? Like, is it 1,000? Is there a number? And tell me a little bit about, let's paint that picture. And where are you going? Where are the places you feel need even more resource?
I think in the next 10 years, I would love and I would hope we would become the household name for clients who are looking for services, but also for us to become the place where all the retirees want to work. So be the employer of choice. When people think about, okay, I'm going to retire and I want to have my one last hooray career, what's it going to be? They should think about seniors helping seniors. So I would love in 10 years for us to get to that point. And I think it is very realistic and possible. I mean, we are coming up 350 territories already, over 350 territories that we've granted. And I know we still have a lot of availability across the country. Yeah. Once we get to whatever the number is in the US, there's always international markets. So from my perspective, sky is the limit. It's about how you want to get to that plan in a controlled manner, because you don't want to go crazy and then for it to all blow up and not be able to provide the support that the franchise partners want. So we have been taking a very deliberate, controlled approach, granting about 35 to 45 franchises every year. And we add coaches based on our needs. And I will say in the short term, it's very important for us to stay current, whether it's about the technologies that we were talking about and having the ability to be able to monitor the seniors who have dementia or anything like that. It's important to roll and change with whatever the wants and needs are for the market. And that's extremely important. So that's what it really comes down to in the long term and the short term of it. Anything you want to add?
I have a number in mind. It's 800 territories.
How many?
800, I would say, domestically.
I love it. He's acting like he's all casual. He knows exactly what he's got that thing on his whiteboard, 800, right?
Yeah. That's the analytical side of him.
Yeah.
Right. The analytical side of him.
Hence the CO.
Yeah. So keep going. You have the number of 800. What else goes into that thought process?
No, I think it comes just down to the right franchise owners. You can have 800 units sold, and you have franchise owners that maybe shouldn't have been there. You don't want that, and so it's just finding the right people. And I know we keep on coming back to the same point because that's really what it is. We want to find people that not only want to do good in the community, but want to be part of our franchise community. our franchise owners are extremely helpful with each other.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody's having a problem, they reach out to neighboring partners and they help. And we bring that up on our executive call before we ever grant a franchise to somebody, because we want that person that is a candidate today to do the same thing for new partners down the road. And so building that community is, what we're really trying to get at, whether it's 700 or 800, it doesn't really matter. But that's kind of the goal, and just finding amazing franchise owners.
And I will say we will not sacrifice the quality of franchise owners the way we go about looking for it to get to a number.
Yeah.
If we can't find the right person, we're not going to grant a franchise.
Yeah.
Yes, I love it. And I was just thinking in my head while you guys were talking about, to me, it's about those experiences, right? Like if you just took the non-business look at it, it's like we want to make impact. It's kind of like we want to deliver the packages fast. It's not really going to help us if we're not doing that anymore, even if we have 1 million extra customers somehow.
Exactly.
But I mean, it's to me, well, you said a lot of things there. I think people should understand. One is that franchising is about making that impact first and foremost and doing it in a controlled way so that everybody wins. And so you're always evaluating growth and speed of growth. And I think that's important. And I hear that from you, and others aren't maybe tuning in, but I'm hearing it. I'm hearing very responsible franchise owners that want to do it right. And so I think that's important for people to understand when they're considering this. Is there anything about the timing that you would say? Now, I know you guys have been doing this a long time. I could have told you back when you started, it was like, man, the baby boomers are all turning 65 or whatever it was back then, right? So it was like a big deal then. You'd say, oh, yeah, the timing's great. Is there anything different about the timing here in the 2020s that you would say, man, this is a good time? Like, what would you say about the timing?
I think there's no better time than today. And I say this in a very lighthearted way because it's true. I mean, seniors are aging everywhere. You are surrounded by seniors. Everybody knows somebody who needs help. And there is a shortage of number of providers out there. I mean, there's pies large enough for everybody to have a piece of a pie. And if you do a really great job, the people are going to follow you. It's just the way it is. You have to do an exceptional job in providing the care. And if you do that, people are going to follow you. And today, I think we are considered to be one of the fastest growing companies within senior care. And I think having the industry and the growth, and then talking about us sitting on and squatting on the name seniors, helping seniors, we're truly helping the seniors with a peer-to-peer relationship. By making that connection where a family feels like it's a friend coming in and relieving the burden. This is where we all started, right? Relieving the burden that we are feeling about our elderly. So it's really ends up being a win-win for everybody. The seniors are getting the good quality care. The families are getting the peace of mind. The senior caregivers are getting a job that they love, and they're not just Walmart greeters or doing whatever else they may not be wanting to do. Yeah. And our franchise owners are making a huge impact in their local communities, and they're doing this because they have something passionate within them that led them to wanting to help the seniors in their communities. So it ends up being a win-win. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think there's this old saying, 10,000 people turning 65 every day. It's closer to 12,000 now. There's a lot of need out there, and there are not enough companies providing it. And, we're part of the solution. And for the next 30 years, our senior population over the age of 75 and 85 are going to continue to grow. And those are the populations that we're helping. And so, like Namrata said, the time is now. And there's just a ton of need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can feel when you said that, man. You're like, we could use a lot more people really fast, but we're going to do it responsibly. Anyway, no, I could you're right. That's how I feel about it too. I'm like, yeah, you could just sense it when you're in the industry. It is just the way it is. And so best time is now. What would be the best way in your mind to reach out to you guys if someone feels like this is in their heart, right? Maybe they have a little tugging of the heart, think this might be the right model. What's the best way for them to kind of engage you guys?
Best way to reach us is to go to our website, seniorshelpingseniors.com.
Perfect. Just go straight there. And,
Yes.
like I said before, I think it's an amazing, you made the comment about the Walmart greeters. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's about that human interaction, but it'd be so much better to do what you guys do. Like, I mean, that's cool. Like that, I would almost volunteer. Like, give me an hour a week. That would be cool. I did an act of kindness yesterday. And I like doing acts of kindness. Like, I mean, I say, I'm defining it. I'm not going to tell you what it was. It's just kind of just being nice to people. And
Yeah.
like, to me, you could almost find people that would love to do that too. Like just the
Absolutely.
whole idea of it. I don't know where you fit that in or if it makes any sense. But all I'm saying is that I really feel I'd rather be on that. I'd rather be on seniors helping seniors than, joining Walmart to greet, even though that might be, something to do.
So, yeah.
I'll give you two side stories if you have the time.
Yes.
So when my mother started Seniors Helping Seniors, there was, I forget what the pretzel company is, a really big pretzel company out of Reading. This gentleman was the CEO of the pretzel company. He retired and became a caregiver for us. And he was the most favorite caregiver amongst all the ladies. And he was such a nice gentleman. I mean, his name was Bob Long, and unfortunately he's passed since. But I mean, that's what I mean. He did not really do this for the paycheck. He wanted to make a difference. He wanted to do something valuable and have good time. Not, I mean, enjoy working, right? So that's what I mean by good time. And then, of course, that's important. And then we had a franchise owner who actually went to Costco and recruited all the ladies who were giving out samples. And they were very happy not giving out samples and being part of our community, doing things that they wanted to be doing. Like some of the things that we ask is, do you like to garden? If you enjoy gardening, we'll give you gardening type jobs,
Yeah.
So they got to do the things that they enjoyed. And then they went and recruited their friends at other Costco's. So it ended up being an explosion. So it really comes down to doing good and reaching out human to human.
I feel like, good works, the phrase good works, right?
Works,
Good
yes.
work.
What
Yes.
humanity needs to just focus on good works.
Yeah.
If we could just all do that together, we would get to where we all need to go much faster, and it would be great. So, but I feel like that is the core of your business, is you're doing that. You're fulfilling that in your business. I love brands that do that. Not every brand could do the heartfelt stuff, right? I'm not trying to knock the other brands. I do like their ice
Sure.
cream and their whatever
Ice
else.
cream's important for
Mufflers.
ice cream's important for the joy of the heart.
Yes, that's right. We got to keep the heart, the joy going so we can keep caregiving. But yeah, so like I said, it's a wonderful time. I love talking to you guys about your brand and the growth you've had. And I know where you're going. It's really, like you said, at this point, controlled growth and just doing the right thing, right? Good works, right? That's so the filter is good works, right? Not 800, but maybe it's 811 to get to good works. Uh, anyway, but that's really cool stuff. I really appreciate you guys. Obviously, we want to tell more stories about your franchisees, so we should maybe think about that for future episodes. But
That'd be great.
tremendous having you, and I do want to have you back, and we will keep talking about AI because it's going to be interesting where that fits with some of this relation. But the relationships will never go away. The human relation, that's what I think is heightened. I think we have
Yes.
so many opportunities to do good works now. We're not going to have excuses. So no more time excuses. So,
Yes, exactly. Well, thank you so much, Rob, for taking, the time to interview with us and chat with us. We've really enjoyed, as always, chatting with
Yes.
you. And sorry for the internet glitches in there, but really
Yeah,
appreciate
no worries.
you having us on your podcast.
You got it. It was great having you. And I just want to thank the audience for tuning in again today. And again, don't forget to visit the website. It's just seniorshelpingseniors.com. Is that right?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Well, excellent. We'll talk again soon. And bye for now.
All right, take care.
Thanks, Rob. Bye-bye.
Bye.